It's another episode of HomeStead to HomeSchool with Mr. Dirt, also known as the Homeschool Dad and Just So Trish. Today we are going to talk about a couple things going on in HSLDA's headlines. We're going to discuss where to buy curriculum. We talked about where to kind of look for curriculum in the past. We've talked about how to test your kids. We've talked about where to begin. So today we are covering where to actually buy curriculum.
Trish, very exciting topic we got today. For those who are just tuning in, I am a new homeschooling parent. I've only been at it for about just a little over 2 months now, and I consider myself very lucky that I have just stepped into Dirtpatcheaven's shoes and taken over, and now I get to try and work the homeschooling curriculum the way that I want to. However, a lot of homeschooling parents are at the point they realize that public school may not be for their child, so they pull their kids out and they have no background or no previous experience with anything homeschooling. If that's the case with you guys, and if you're just tuning in, I highly recommend going back to the previous episodes. There's 3 previous ones, and double checking with those because there are some very important steps that you need to do right off. All right, Trish, it looks like we are off to an exciting start today, the one that I've been waiting for personally, and so
when it comes to curriculum shopping, there are so many ways to go. Obviously, there's eBay. I buy tons of stuff off of eBay. So buying it used, a lot of times you'll have homeschool groups or co-ops in your area that will have a used curriculum sale. In my area, there's 2. There's about an hour south and an hour north, and I try to make it to both of those every year because I have like a list going of what I want. Sometimes I've gone and I haven't had a list, and I'm just like, what is here to pick from? And if anything, tickled my fancy for the year, I'm like, well, let's try that. Find the co-op and eBay are typically my big ones. There's a lot of Facebook groups. If you just type homeschool swap, homeschool sale, if you're looking for a particular curriculum, I know My Father's World has a page just for buying and selling used My Father's World. There is Rod and Staff has one, Sunlight has one. A lot of different people will kind of come together and make one, and they put their stuff out to sell. So you can find Facebook groups. The other part is you might know homeschool families. I just did one like, here's my laundry list of things I'm looking for. Does anybody have this on their shelf trying to get rid of? Contact me. So I've done that too for finding used curriculums. The other way is going to your state convention. It's fixing to be convention season here, and a lot of times you will be able to talk to the publishers and really get the opportunity to ask all the questions about the curriculum, and it's a great time. You don't have to buy there. They'll have deals. So when you're at state convention, they'll have typically specials you can get, or free shipping, which isn't a bad deal, or you can buy it on the spot for no shipping. So convention works out great to buy curriculum. So the other way I like to buy curriculum is online. So I'm going to take you to a couple of my favorite places to buy curriculum. Remember, when you're reviewing curriculum on Kathy Duffy's website, she will have links. You can always go to the manufacturer or the people who produce it, and you can go directly to their website. You can go to other websites where you can get a lot of different things. So these are my 3 favorite websites outside of Amazon, eBay, and Facebook. My 3 favorite websites to buy curriculum brand new that's not straight from the person who makes it. Here we go. So my number one place to do my online shopping has got to be Rainbow Resources. They are one of my favorites. You definitely want to request a catalog from them. Their catalog is about the size of a phone book, and it has in-detailed reviews of pretty much everything that they sell. So it is a great resource to have on hand. I actually use Rainbow Resources for even my Christmas shopping for the kids. So their prices are pretty much as low as they can get them, except for if the manufacturer is doing any sales on their part, then they can pass those savings on to you from time to time. But it's not Rainbow Resources doing the sales, it's typically the manufacturer doing the sale. So you can shop by curriculum based, you can shop by subjects, full curriculums with all the subjects, curriculums just by subjects, workbooks by series. You can go in here, and let me tell you, you can spend hours here. Hours. I'm just looking. So one of my favorites is like phonics. You can go into phonics, and we'll talk to you like complete phonics programs, supplemental supplemental programs for older children. They really do a wonderful job breaking them up, looking for drills and even readers. So this is good to know, and you can come in here and it will show you full programs. So I love Rainbow Resources. I get a majority of my school resources there. I like to also go here to find supplements and look for things that I typically would not see. So the nice part is shipping is free over $50, so that's always a great thing. They're wonderful to contact and talk to because they just have such a broad amount of information and reviews on these. So even when you click within the products, the reviews from other parents are just phenomenal. So definitely check that out. My number 2 place to go shopping is christianbook.com. I get a lot from christianbook.com. They separate out by curriculum, subject, electives, bestsellers. You can shop by method. You also have the things that are coming up. Their prices are always very reasonable. They also will do sales from time to time on different things. You can get a catalog from them. I think they send out 2 a year, one around June or July and one in January for their homeschooling. Another one is Mardel. I don't shop a lot from Mardel. I like Mardel because they are the makers of the Simple Plan, and it is one of my favorite planners to use. They don't have a brick and mortar store here, and there are brick and mortar stores in different states, so this is something you might want to check out, but this is also another wonderful place to shop from. So these are just easy places to shop. You can shop by subject and really get a whole sense of the curriculum that is out there. So this is not a complete exhausted list of where to shop online for homeschool curriculum. You know, you still have Amazon, you still have eBay, you still have Facebook to find curriculum. But if you have any links to some great places to shop for curriculum online for new curriculum, please put them in the comments. I would love to find and look for more, especially ones that are being used by you. You can also go to like a local teacher's school or teacher resource store. There's typically, at one point we had 2 in our area, and now there's like none. But you got the teacher resource store to be able to go through and look. I tend to find that they cost a lot, and usually they're for one skill for a classroom, and I haven't found it to be a big, some things have been good, but to buy all my stuff there, I've actually ended up spending a lot of money and feeling like I had nothing.
Wow, Trish, that's quite a lot to hold on to. Thank you. And on with news from HSLDA. What do we have this week?
So as always, here we are on the HSLDA website, and you can find this for yourself. And we're talking about a couple of discrimination victories that came through, but just some things that happened with homeschooling. A lot of times we consider issues that we're going to have is going to be dealing with the districts or dealing to prove that our homeschooling is adequate or having somebody coming in and questioning. Other times we actually can have problems with Social Security. And so there was a couple issues that have just happened recently. And you know, sometimes these homeschool students have parents that are retired, disabled, or have passed away, so they're eligible to get the benefits from Social Security as long as they're in school. Well, if you're homeschooling, sometimes you might have an issue with Social Security actually acknowledging your homeschooling. So we're just going to quickly cover a couple things that has happened. So one of the ones was in California. This also happened in Connecticut, but in California, homeschoolers are recognized as a private school. So she had to have proof that she had 20 hours per week in a program that complied with the state law. So they did that, and they had all their paperwork, and they sent her paperwork to Social Security, and she lost her benefit. And their reasoning was they did not have sufficient proof that she was a high school student. So thankfully the parents had excellent records. They brought the documentation, and when the local office reviewed the documents, they didn't recognize them because they looked different from those generated from a traditional private school. In California, they're recognized as a private school, so they're just kind of like, these don't look real. So HSLDA had to come in and explain, like, under state law, this is what's allowed, and then Social Security was like, oh, okay, here we go. Another one, you never think of this as an issue. This one was in Massachusetts, and there's actually 2 students that had the same issue, and what it was is the fact that they actually have aged out. So they're 18 years old, and this could be easily like you turned 18 in September, or maybe you needed another another year. You know, I was in high school with 18, 19-year-olds in their senior year. This is where they are no longer required to submit paperwork to the district because they're 18, but they did anyways. Unfortunately, because they're not legally obligated under state law to submit, neither is the school district legally obligated to approve their homeschool programs. In fact, the homeschool district did not send a letter of approval back to them, even though they submitted their forms. And when the Social Security asked these families to provide proof of approval, they can't. They can't because the school district wasn't required to do so, so they didn't. Here again, HSLDA intervened, and the Social Security's general position is that the student above compulsory school attendance age must still comply with the law of his or her state in order to be entitled to benefits. So the local office had to view the position in light of the larger legal landscape there in Massachusetts. And Massachusetts has chosen not to compel students over the age of 16 for approval of homeschooling, and making such approvals very much voluntary. So in that case, after 16, this can be a whole problem with Social Security. So these are a few things that are going on that you might not automatically assume would be an issue is Social Security, but in some instances it can be an issue. So it's not always just the state. So keep good records is what I keep learning. Be a member of HSLDA and keep good records is the best thing you can do, because you never know what's going to be a stumbling block. So on the next episode, we are going to cover how much does this really have to cost you. And we're going to cover some free websites to go to that you can build, supplement, or do your entire curriculum for close to free. So we will see you next time.
Okay, thanks Trish. Guys, check her out over at Just So Trish, just SEW Trish. And again, I'm Mr. Dirt. And until next time.
So next week, we are going to cover, I don't know. I gotta look. Episode 5.